Hello dear viewer, today's video is all about some of the boutique Blu-rays that I have been watching and adding to my collection lately. I've got a big stack right here in front of me. 7 different boutique labels are featured here, some of which I haven't talked about too much on the channel before, so there's a lot of exciting stuff to get into. These are all boutique Blu-rays, so there's some real niche stuff here, some real discoveries for me watching these for the first time, and lots of great special features as we come to know from Boutique Blu-rays. Let's kick things off with a Eureka Entertainment release, the brand new Slaughter in San Francisco. I had so much fun watching this movie. It's a bit silly. It follows this police officer played by Wong Tao who ends up crossing paths with the big crime boss in San Francisco, played by the one and only Chuck Norris. And this film has some real special moments. This was apparently producer Raymond Chow's way of introducing the Hong Kong style of filmmaking to the United States after seeing its tremendous popularity. And the result here, it's not a great movie, let's be honest, but it has so much charm. And I had a lot of fun watching this one. It is absolutely stacked with special features, multiple commentaries, a booklet inside the case, and this slipcover with the fantastic artwork. Next up, I got the latest release from Curzon. It's a Wim Wenders film, one of 2 films that he released in 2023. It's the documentary Anselm, which is based on the artist Kiefer Anselm. A look at his artwork and his life. It's a very insightful look at the artist because I honestly did not know much about Kiefer Anselm before watching this, and now I know quite a bit. His artwork is very unique because it's lots of statement pieces. He has made some very controversial pieces of artwork, and we see in this film this great big almost warehouse where he keeps all of the artwork, and you have to even ride a bicycle inside the warehouse to get around because it's that big. I really do love the documentaries of Wim Wenders, and I think this is a good one. Now, something to mention here is that this film was actually made to be a 3D film. Now, this Blu-ray is not a 3D Blu-ray, and I think you can only see the film in 3D theatrically if you get the chance to. So the film viewing experience of Anselm is probably much better if you are watching it in 3D. Nevertheless, I had a great time with it, and there's a great discussion with Wim Wenders on the special features of the Curzon Blu-ray. As with other Curzon Blu-rays, this is the artwork on the reversible sleeve. The main artwork actually looks like that. So I recommend this film to fans of Wim Wenders and his documentaries, and anyone who likes documentaries on art. It's just sad we don't get to see it in full 3D. Now we come to a Blu-ray from Radiance Films. It's Aeon Fan, directed by the Taviani brothers, starring Marcello Mastroianni. This was my first time watching this film, but not my first time with the Taviani brothers. I have the older Arrow box set with 3 of their films, and they are great filmmakers. I have to say I absolutely was overwhelmed by this film. I loved it so much. This is right up my street because it's a historical costume drama. I've seen some people call this an Italian Barry Lyndon, which obviously speaks to me dearly. Within the story, we follow this man who was a revolutionary, but it's set in 1815 during the Restoration, and this guy is very much a coward, so he is trying not to get involved with any sort of political uprising again. But because of his constant lying, he ends up getting involved in some very bad situations. I'll leave it at that. The film is beautiful to watch. It's a stunning picture. It has that signature irony that you will find in some of the Taviani brothers' other movies. And it has one of the best scores from Ennio Morricone that he ever made. I absolutely loved this film. This is one of the greatest film discoveries I've had in the longest time. I watched it and then I watched it again with the Michael Brook commentary, which, by the way, is such an informative commentary. Michael Brook is obviously very knowledgeable about films. He clearly had a passion for this film going back quite a long time, and he just goes through so much detail about the film, the filmmakers, the sort of political history of Italy at the time, which was very much split up into different states controlled by Austria and France. So it very much had a big impact on me. And for my money, this is one of Radiance's best single disc releases so far. I really did have such a great time with it. The other brand new Radiance release that I watched is Black Tight Killers from Japanese director Yasuharu Hasebe. This is an absolutely crazy film about this photographer who meets this air hostess on a plane, and they strike up this relationship, but she is being hunted by these female assassins, and the photographer gets entangled in all of this, and there's this plot around this hidden gold, and the film is just so quirky. So many different ideas are just being thrown at the screen, and it is absolutely crazy. It really is. I didn't know too much about this, but I was not expecting all of the wacky places that this goes, but I loved every minute of it. I had previously seen some of Hasebe's other films like Retaliation. This is the old Arrow Video Blu-ray, and that is a much more straightforwardly told film. There's a great audio commentary from Jasper Sharp on here. There's an archival interview with the director as well. This is another hit from Radiance for me. This and Aeon Fan are both region A and B, so they're getting releases in both regions. So I really do hope fans of Japanese cinema, fans of like wacky sort of James Bond spoof-esque things like Danger Diabolik, if you're a fan of that, then you'll be a fan of this. Another quick mention of Radiance, they've started releasing these books, which are absolutely great if you want to find out more about a certain filmmaker. This one is on Tai Kato, who recently had the film I, the Executioner released from Radiance. A great read, it really is. So if you can get your hands on this and you're a fan of Tai Kato, then definitely recommend reading this. I also recently watched The Village Detective, A Song Cycle, the film from Bill Morrison, released by Second Run. If you're not familiar with the filmmaker Bill Morrison, he has made a number of films about film archaeology. This particular film is a documentary about these film reels that were found at the bottom of the sea by a fish trawling boat. And the reels were from this Russian film called The Village Detective. And Bill Morrison goes into detail about how these were found, what the film is, the significance of the main actor in the film. And he weaves all of this information together in such an engaging way. If you have any interest in film preservation, film history, film technology, and film archaeology, as I mentioned, then you have to check out the documentaries of Bill Morrison. Second Run have also released what I think is his best work, Dawson City Frozen Time, which is about this place, Dawson City, where some film reels were found under the ice. Also on this new Blu-ray, there is an interview with Bill Morrison and some of his short films as well. So it's a great release from Second Run. I highly, highly recommend it if you are a fan of any of those things that I mentioned. Now I have some great Blu-rays to talk about from Third Window Films, a label that I feel like I've not talked about in a very long time, but their latest releases are just something else. Particularly this first one, River. This is the film from Junta Yamaguchi. This is what you would call a time loop movie, where the characters in the film relive the same 2 minutes over and over again. They're stuck in a loop and they have to try and escape this time loop. And each 2 minutes they reset, but they do something different. It is set at this hotel by this river. And it's so interesting seeing all of the people that work at this hotel, the patrons, people that come from outside, and the technique of the time loop within the story is really so great at progressing the characters. And we learn so much about them very quickly because there is always this sense of urgency. The characters that we follow, they have to do what they need to do within the 2 minutes before time resets. This was another film which is one of the best things I've watched in recent times. So I highly recommend this to people, particularly fans of modern Japanese cinema. I also watched Third Window's release of Mad Cats. This is the film from director Reiki Suno. This is another crazy film. We follow this young man as he's searching for his lost brother, and he ends up joining up with these other characters who are very mysterious, and they're being pursued by these very vicious cats. There's just lots of very quirky comedy, violence. It's just great fun and really mad, as the title suggests. I'm so grateful to labels like Third Window for releasing this kind of cinema over here in the UK, because without this Blu-ray, I don't think I would have come across this film. So I really do hope that Third Window Films and all of these great boutique Blu-ray labels can just continue into the future and keep introducing these great works of cinema to us. In the special features, there's an interview with the director and there is a commentary by the director. So just a wonderful release. I was so happy with this, and this is the reversible sleeve on the Blu-ray. Another great Japanese film that I got from Third Window is 1%er, starring Tak Sakaguchi. This is about filmmaking itself. This is about making action films, although the character played by Tak Sakaguchi really wants to give a realism to the fighting and the action. And this actually happens within the story when some mobsters come onto the film set looking for some stolen drugs. And he sees this as a perfect opportunity to capture some real violence on camera. It's a crazy story, and it is saying something about the nature of filmmaking and the blending of reality and fiction. Another film I had a great time with. I'm so grateful to Third Window for releasing this. And there's a commentary on the disc as well, if you want to listen to that. Next up is a release that came out a while ago, but I've wanted it for so long. This is from Grasshopper Films. It's the film Francisca from Manuel de Oliveira. This is a stunning 4K restoration of his film from 1981, which is a beautiful costume drama with great sets and locations and costumes. This is exactly the kind of thing I love. And on that subject, going back to one I talked about earlier, it would make a great double bill with Aeon Fan from Radiance. I just love this kind of filmmaking. I'm a real sucker for it. And this is such a beautiful film. This is a film that takes its time with the characters and the story, and it creates such a sense of atmosphere. This is just really good filmmaking. Another Blu-ray that I got from Grasshopper Film, and another great 4K restoration, is Sicilia. This is the film from Daniel Huillet and Jean-Marie Straub, which also features the additional film Where Does Your Hidden Smile Lie from filmmaker Pedro Costa. Sicilia is a film from 1999 where we follow this American coming back to his homeland of Sicily, where we follow all of the interactions that he has with people in the community, including his own mother, and they're so revealing. And, they really take their time. So this is not a fast, action-packed movie, but it is one that really reveals a lot about human interaction and the nature of our pasts and our history and our family. And there's just so much beauty packed into this film. The second film from Pedro Costa is a film about Sicilia. In fact, it's about the filmmakers as they are editing their film. Pedro Costa was invited to make a film about them, and he follows them during this period of editing the film, which is fascinating. So a brilliant release with two great restorations of these films. I absolutely loved it. Speaking of Pedro Costa, I have his film Casa de Lava. This is another Grasshopper Film release, and another stunning restoration of a film that I think has not had much of a wide release at all. This was only Costa's second feature film, but it is brilliant. We follow this nurse who accompanies this man in a coma back to his home on this volcanic island. And while she is there looking after the man in the coma, she starts to realise that the community is quite mysterious. She definitely doesn't fit in here, and there's a lot of strange things going on. There's so much subtext here about colonialism, and it's just a great film about isolation and paranoia and mystery. And I had a great time with this one. Now I've got two releases from a label that I am just becoming acquainted with. The label is Film Masters, and Film Masters have been sourcing these forgotten films, these films that have not been getting any physical media releases, and they've been giving them these 4K restorations. And here we have The Swiss Conspiracy. This is a film from director Jack Arnold, who I have a real particular fondness for, particularly for films like The Incredible Shrinking Man. Jack Arnold worked a lot in television, and he came back after many years not making any films and made The Swiss Conspiracy, which as it sounds like, is a conspiracy story set in Switzerland. We follow David Jansen's character as this agent who is investigating who is blackmailing these wealthy Swiss people. What I loved about this film was the use of location and setting to really heighten this story. It's difficult for me because I feel like Arnold sort of lost some of the cinematic language that he had used earlier on in his career, just merely through working in television. And in some ways, this sort of feels a bit like a television film at some points. I don't think this is a lost masterpiece or a film that is going to absolutely blow you away, but I had a great time with it, and I loved all of the performances in this and the location, as I said. There are great special features, an audio commentary, some features about Jack Arnold, and a booklet included in the release. Then another Film Masters release is this one. This is a double bill. So you've got The Devil's Partner and you've got The Creature from the Haunted Sea. These are two films from 1961 which played as a double bill. The first film being about this man who sells his soul to the devil in order to become young again, which has some really creepy imagery, particularly all of the stuff with the ritual that he does in order to become young. And then you've got The Creature from the Haunted Sea, which is a Roger Corman sort of take on criminal gangster movies, where this criminal is blaming these deaths on this sea monster. I'm so glad that Film Masters are releasing this sort of stuff, because I don't think these would get a release from anyone else. And it's so great in preserving these films. You know, they're not the best films in the world. You know, these are what you would call B movies, or perhaps even lower than B movies. But I thoroughly enjoyed them, particularly all of the special features you get for both films. I had such a great time with this, and I hope Film Masters have such great success, because I want to see more stuff like this. So if you're interested in this kind of release, do go and buy this and support this great label, because I think from these two releases that I've seen, they are doing great things. I should note that both of these Film Masters releases happen to be region free, so no matter where you are in the world, you can buy them with confidence. That really took it out of me, talking about all of those films, because there was a big stack there, and now I think I'm losing my voice a bit. I hope you enjoyed it and could take some of these as recommendations for things to perhaps add to your own collection. If you want to stick around on the channel, then just click the video that's on screen now for some more recommendations from me. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.